A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Well, some good news to report. The federal government has decided to pull back and have decided to maintain the deductible gift recipient status, or DGR, for school building funds and special religious education in schools. Well, let's talk with Murray Norman, who's the CEO of Better Balanced Futures. He's been on the front lines defending schools and SRE. Murray, welcome along to 2020.
Thank you very much, Neil. Great to be here.
Murray, this is pretty significant. It's not always we get to do the good news. Often we're talking about the bad news and what the threats are, but this is a moment for pause and really thanking God, you might even say.
I think we need to praise God. It is really important that Christians engage in the marketplace, and faith-based schools are 30% of schooling in Australia, and it's been really important that we maintain DGR in private schools, which means you can get a tax deduction for donating to a building fund to be able to help build the facilities at school, or in religious education, whether that's RI or SRE, to be able to teach about Jesus in public schools. So it's amazing that the government has heard us and that they will be rejecting the recommendations of the Productivity Commission. So it's actually meant the Minister, Andrew Leigh, and the government is actually not going to take up the recommendations of the Productivity Commission, which is a massive deal, and be able to hold those for the faith communities.
So really, the Productivity Commission came up with a report that said, yes, you should impose these restrictions on faith-based schools and, while you're there, special religious education, but the government doesn't have to actually accept those recommendations, and at this point they've decided not to accept them. Is that a permanent thing, or is it just for now?
No, well, the Productivity Commission is an independent job of the independent group of the Minister. They've made a recommendation. They've been looking at how to increase volunteerism and how to increase donations. They've made a recommendation suggesting that faith-based schools and religious education in public schools shouldn't get that tax deductibility, and that should be shared more widely across the community. But the Minister and the government has sought not to take up that advice, and it will be rejecting it just because of the importance of schooling, of faith-based schooling, and the opportunity in schools, so in Christian schools, to be able to teach about Christianity, in Catholic schools to be able to maintain teaching there, and in religious education in state schools. That's seen as so important that the Minister has chosen not to take that advice and maintain that as a growing and active part that's really important to our society.
From what I understand, it was the building funds first priority, but then SRE was included in the mix. Is that the way it worked?
Yeah, pretty much. The building funds, you're talking billions of dollars there. Do you know what I mean? So the donations that are going into those funds are helping the independent schooling system. So you're talking billions of dollars there. In the SRE and public schools, you're talking tens of millions of dollars going in. But in both cases, that's underpinning the ability of private schools to be able to operate, and faith-based schools to be able to build buildings, libraries, science labs, those type of things, and be able to do that in a way that provides for parents and students and gives them a choice. And it provides training and resources and curriculums in public schools so that we can do a high-quality job when we go into schools. Without those donations, it would really curtail how schools would be able to develop and grow and maintain their facilities, and religious education would be devastated without those curriculums and training to be able to support those volunteers going into schools.
Now, when the government has backtracked on this and held back and said, no, we're not going to change the DGR status for those gifts to schools and for SRE, they're going a little extra step further just to try and allay fears that somehow or other this was government policy and not just something that was generated through the Productivity Commission. Is that one way of describing the way the government is saying, hey, nothing to see here, we're not going to pursue this?
Well, I think we've been very blessed. We've had the opposition in Australia be very strong that people of faith through their schooling, whether it's private, through DGR funds for buildings or religious education in public schools would be protected, and they've been very strong about that. And they came out very strongly after this had been put out. And it really made the government and others stand up and see how important this is to the faith communities. And it is a big deal for the minister to actually disagree with an independent body, but that's what's happened. But I do think that our politicians on both sides have listened to the voices of the electorate. But that's why I think it's so important for us to actually step up with high quality information, to go through the inquiries, to show up and have real conversations, and to actually encourage our people to write to their local politicians to talk to them and just state to them how important it is. And in a democratic society, that we will vote where we think issues are really important. And this is one of those really important issues.
And when controversies like this come along and there becomes a robust response from churches and from religious organisations, there is a sense here, isn't there, that sometimes the controversy is necessary to be able to highlight the huge contribution that religious schools make to the well-being of communities. How do you describe the sort of contribution that Christian and independent schools make to the communities that they're a part of?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's about parents and students having choice. And in Australia, we have the opportunity that faith is welcomed into our schools. We have private schooling where young people can come to schools and they can learn about the choice of their family has chosen, whether that's Christian, whether that's Catholic, whether that's Muslim, Jewish. You get the opportunity to go along, which is really important. We also have the opportunity to be able to come and teach about faith in classrooms. People of faith, Christians, know that our faith in Jesus provides us eternal hope, and that provides us hope in this life, so it gives us meaning. So we're looking for meaning and hope in a world where we see so much chaos and so much destruction and so much uncertainty. It anchors us back to the truth, and that helps us to not only be people of faith, but also engage in our community and be good citizens.
Murray, it's all very well talking about money given and tax deductibility for school building projects, but SRE, Special Religious Education, is in the mix here, and there's a money element, but is there something that you can read between the lines? Is there something deeper that we ought to acknowledge too around our governments, just saying that the special religious education actually is making a huge contribution, that it is important?
Well, I think the thing that we've been saying to politicians, and we've been very blessed with so many parents and families writing into government, it actually makes real difference in the lives of individual people. So when we boil it down to religious education in schools, in public schools, makes a difference to everyone that is actually hearing and acting on their faith. And that's what we're doing. We're coming in and educating people about how to live out their faith, and that makes a real world difference for the 380,000 students that are going to those Christian classes every week. It's actually giving them an opportunity to learn about faith in Jesus and to be able to live that out. And that's what we're looking for in New South Wales, in Queensland, and right across Australia, to be able to have that opportunity for young people to learn about faith and learn about how to live that out. Now, everyone has the opportunity and the choice to follow Jesus, and they can do what they want with what they learn, but it's our opportunity to be able to share hope and life and just to give them peace for the future that comes from Jesus.
And a little bit of special recognition for you here, Murray, because on receiving the good news, the government's holding back. It's not going to deliver people of the ability to get a tax deduction for those donations. But you've been quick to actually thank the ministers and the opposition too for listening to faith communities. They're not listening all that often, but you're recognising that they need to have some sort of recognition when they are listening.
Definitely. We've had hundreds of people writing into both sides of Parliament, to their local members. They need to understand what's important to their local communities, what's important to their electorate. They're there to represent the electorate. We need to be thanking them when they're doing the right thing. We shouldn't just be we can actually stand up and we can saying, no, this is wrong. But we also need to thank them when they actually operate and act in the best interests of the community. And that's what they've done this time. We need to thank them, and we need to keep on doing that, because we want to be active members of the community, and we want to be there shoulder to shoulder with our local politicians, and we want to be talking to them when things that we don't like happen, but also when things that are good that happen, and we need to encourage them, because they're people too and they need encouragement in their job.
Stay with encouragement for a moment, because what does this say to the huge body of people who are volunteer religious education teachers in all the states and territories all around the country? As I understand it, somewhere in the vicinity of about 11,500 people who are weekly going in and they're participating in religious education in schools. What does this sort of decision say to those people by way of encouragement?
Well, it's saying that the government actually recognises you, that the government is keen to invest in you, and it's providing an opportunity for people of faith. So not just Christians right across the faith community, also for primary ethics, the non-faith-based option, that it's important to get into schools. But I will say it's so important for Christians to actually stand up. We've got this opportunity. Get trained, be encouraged, go into schools, because we need people sharing about their faith and sharing about Jesus, what it means to them. And that's how we're going to help the next generation, by investing in them and sharing the love that we have and the hope that we have in Jesus.
Well, a lot of people will be breathing a sigh of relief with this good news. And for people who want to just explore this a little further, is there any resource or documentation on your Better Balanced Futures website that people can access?
If they go to Better Balanced Futures, they'll be able to see the full report from the Productivity Commission, and you'll also be able to see statements from the Minister and also the opposition in their support for supporting faith-based building funds and also religious education. We also need to be aware there's other things that we're talking to the government about, and especially how they classify faith groups and how they register faith groups. So we're still working with the Minister. There's actually decisions that the Productivity Commission has made that we're very, very keen to engage with government and push back, and we want the faith charities to be recognised as special and giving due respect within the whole myriad of different charities that we have within our community. So if you can go there, get more information, be praying for us and speak up, that would be great. And thank everyone for all their help.
As you say, the battles are not all over. There are all sorts of things that are facing Christian religious schools. And so let me point listeners to betterbalancedfutures.org.au, where you can just take a few moments to enjoy the fact that there is some good news to report. Murray Norman is the CEO of Better Balanced Futures. The Better Balanced Futures website is betterbalancedfutures.org.au. Murray Norman, thanks so much for updating us today on 2020.
Thank you very much, Neil, and thank you for everyone's support. Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.